Hello, my people. Now, we all know, the whole world knows, that Kenyans demonstrated vigorously in the year 2024. Those demonstrations almost ended up toppling the government. As a result of those demonstrations, Kenya got a new finance cabinet secretary. That cabinet secretary is called John Mbadi. One of the things that Mbadi did was to visit the IMF in Washington, D.C., the International Monetary Fund, to sort of look for money to fund the Kenyan budget. But here is the thing. Mbadi says that when he went to the IMF offices, he felt quite embarrassed. Just listen to this one.
You are right that I was embarrassed at Washington, not that we were treated badly, Your Excellency. I wanted just to clarify. But you see, when you find African countries queuing in corridor, then you are called one by one. Nigeria, you come, 15, 30 minutes. Rwanda, Kenya, I mean, for those of us who have some pride, it's a bit demeaning. And you see the money that we are...
So the thing is, you can see those guys laughing because it would seem to them it's a nice joke. But what Mbadi is saying is that it was completely embarrassing for him to stand in the corridors like a schoolboy before the office of the headmaster to account for his sins while he's representing a sovereign, a supposedly sovereign African country. Because this is not the independence we were looking for.
If we just tighten our system, we can do without some of these monies. We can do. Because today, IMF has released 78 billion shillings. But if KRA puts systems in place, we can collect not less than 400 billion shillings.
Now, you need to be reminded, the problem is not paying taxes. Kenyans are willing and ready. The problem for Kenya and most, probably all African countries, is how their taxes are used. One of the things that happens is that our leaders, our African leaders, use the taxes we pay to enrich themselves, to make themselves wealthy, to become billionaires overnight, without ever running any industry, without ever running any company or firm that produces any resource for the country. If the president stopped corruption, then Kenya can be free from the stranglehold of the IMF. Now, why this is important is that of the more than 10 trillion Kenya shillings that Kenya owes as foreign debt, about, when you talk to experts, economic experts say more than half of that money is in people's pockets. Now, at some point, Kenya ranked among the world's 3 most corrupt nations. I think even now, as we speak, we're very close to the top. And when you look at corrupt nations, African nations tend to play in the big league of corruption. That is, African leaders have more money than most people in the West, most leaders in the West. While at the same time, paradoxically, their people live in the greatest, deepest, most miserable poverty. So you can see the connection that their wealth seems to come from the people. So because they've taken what belongs to the people, they are therefore wealthy, while the people are poor. And so Africa has a need to streamline its governance systems so that the money Africans produce in the form of tax is properly and equitably used to develop our continent. Now, this is something Mbadi didn't say, but I think you can get the hint from what he's telling President William Ruto.
Your Excellency, I think this is something we have discussed. And again, we will make sure that when we are doing our budgeting, that we feed the cow which we milk.
Thank you. So one of the things that happens in African countries, and which Mbadi is implying or is hinting at, is the fact that the millionaires in Africa are not people who produce anything. They are the thieves who have found themselves in places of leadership and are now milking. So Mbadi is basically saying that when people pay taxes, they need to experience the benefit of that tax. Now, in Kenya, one of the things that happens is that we elect leaders, including members of parliament, as well as members of county assemblies. And a few months after they've been elected, they move from wherever they were staying into some of the most expensive estates in Kenya, such as Karen, Muthaiga, Runda, etc., where billionaires live, which in itself is a problem. It shows not only that they are earning more money than they should earn, it also hints at the possibility that they're stealing our money so they can afford to live there. Now, here is the thing. A good leader stays with his people. That is the only way you know what the people are going through. So you experience what they experience. If the roads are bad, you battle the same potholes they battle. If there's no water supply, you and your family run out of water and have to make phone calls just like everybody else. If there is a power blackout, you experience it and are as inconvenienced as the people you lead. That is what true leadership is about. True leadership is not having money. It is about providing solutions to your people while you are with them. You're not living in an ivory tower. African leaders, African governments need to facilitate the taxpayers. Those who pay taxes need to enjoy the benefits of the taxes that they pay. We've talked in the past about Africa producing the world's largest amount of resources. The most valuable resources for the world mostly come out of Africa. Instead of using those resources to develop Africans so Africa can grow, so that our collective standard of living can rise up, we use those resources, our leaders use those resources to enrich themselves and to sell us off to the West, so that constantly we are in debt to the West with loans that can never be repaid. Whatever policies the IMF prescribes for our nations is not meant to get us out of our debt situation. It is meant to sink us deeper into it. There are organizations that have said there is no nation on earth that ever grew by implementing the policies prescribed by the IMF. That should tell you that after all these decades, the IMF stays in existence. If its policies never benefit any nation, why should we be dealing with it? I think Africans should be annoyed, should have a righteous anger to gain our freedom and put these organizations away from us and deal with them as equals. They get benefits from us, we get benefits from them. It's a symbiotic relationship from which everybody benefits, rather than this slave-master relationship that we currently have. So, there we are. Now, it is not lost on us that Mr. Mbadi has gone to great lengths to emphasize that the IMF did not mistreat them. It's almost as if recognizing that we are still indebted to IMF, he does not wish to imperil our relationship with the IMF. I think we should reach a stage whereby Kenya and other African nations can be able to speak with their heads held high and call a spade a spade. And this we can only do if African governments become more responsible, become more answerable, more accountable to citizens for the taxes that we pay. So push your country, push your local leader, your member of parliament, whoever it is, push them for accountability, argue with them, tell them we want a free Africa. Why should they be leading a people who are beggarly? Why should they be leading a people who are poor? Why should they be leading a continent that is constantly on its knees begging for help? What kind of leaders are they who don't take pride in leading a people who are strong, a people who don't bow before anybody, a people who speak and are heard? Push your leader, tell them, we want Africa that is completely free, that is completely independent, that stands in pride at its achievements, because Africans have done a lot in the world, and our achievements cannot be recognized as long as we are constantly on our knees. Thank you. Until next time, thank you and be blessed as we look forward to our next broadcast.